Okay, I think I'm gonna start now because it's also bad habit to wait until everybody is here. So welcome to you all, and I just like to introduce myself very shortly. I'm a sortition advocate based here in Denmark. I'm also the founder, call it what you like, part of the guys that started off International Network of Sortition Advocates. And I have a high focus on sortition on the government, constitutional level. And I will try to moderate this presentation today, and I'm presenting at the same time. And just so you know it, if somebody doesn't know it, INSA is a volunteer organization aimed at connecting pro-sortition academics, advocates, and so on around the world to share resources and tactics and so we have been established for 2 or 3 years now, I think, and an invitation to join the community on a Discord server has been posted in the chat. And you can also join our email contact list if you wish. I don't know if it's been posted in the chat, but at least it's on our website, which is insa.site. And that's about it. I hope everybody has introduced themselves. What I'm gonna talk about today is what I see as somewhat of an end goal in sortition. And that is what I'm aiming for. It's to initiate a process that will improve democracy by institutionalize sortition as a permanent part of democracy. Maybe not now, but at some point in time, hopefully. In my view, this is the final goal for our work and the part that I have most focus on. Sadly, there are so many things happening with democracy around the world right now that I have been able to learn quite a lot from that, how to do it better, I hope. I will not discuss what is wrong today or what sortition is all about. Many of you already agree that elections are not so good, and you know what sortition is. The important part here is the engineering. The system that can run at national scale year after year without becoming a powerless citizens panel or a random veto machine. The goal is a legitimative chamber, and that will work. And maybe help on some of democracy's downfall right now. This presentation is about presenting this model, the mechanics, and to get maybe some of you involved in a process to work on this and improve this model. I'm going to walk you through a concrete operational design for a second chamber selected by sortition, designed not to replace elections, but to complement them in a two-chamber system. I'll focus primarily on the mechanics, how members are selected, how cases enter this chamber, how proposals are processed, how decisions are made, and how the chamber collaborates with the elected parliament. This is made with Denmark in mind, but I think the structure is transferable. The core logic is balanced. One chamber optimized for electoral accountability and fast politics, and one chamber optimized for representativeness, deliberation, and long-term decision quality. For me, it all started from observing recurring problems in law quality and complexity, and asking whether the issue was not only policy, but the structure that produced the policy. Then I experienced sortition personally through jury-like services, and I saw that it is really working. And from there, I connected to the international sortition field and saw some patterns also that when assemblies are purely advisory, they can be ignored. When they lack agenda or process protection, they can be captured or dismissed. So this model is an attempt to produce an institution, not just an event. It was developed through discussions with a small Danish group over the winter of 24-25 with the ambition of turning it into a public facing advocacy and eventually a workable constitutional language. It is ended a document that is 20 pages by now, and that is the background for this presentation. We can think of many ways sortition can be made permanent, and our goal was balance. It must be possible to implement it without too much resistance and still achieve the goal. The original starting point was to write an article in a major newspaper, but I don't think it fits in the current version. But this form was chosen deliberately. It was not to be an academic document. I have deliberately tried to create a document that most people would be able to read and understand, and also appear convincing at the same time. So I've made it a little personal. There are no references to academic papers. I have also tried to create a text where the entire political spectrum can accept it to the point and claims that most people will accept without questioning. That was at least the intention. We may have compromised. To begin with, as a compared to our idealized sortition worldview. But honestly, after all the work, I actually now think the outcome is the best possible solution. Just a note, all the numbers and percentages and so on that you will see during this presentation is not cut in stone. For example, we have selected 300 people to be members of this new chamber. And some of it is something that we for sure has discussed, and there may be some sort of valid reasoning behind it. And sometimes it's just something that we settled on because it looks fine. It does not influence the system that I present here. So don't dive too much into details about the numbers, but do feel free to ask questions about it. This is the system. It's very simple. It's a standard diagram. It looks a little bit like the American way of doing things with two chambers. The key commitment is the model. The SBT stands for, I have to translate from Danish, sortition, citizens, chamber, something like that. Ting, it's Ting. It's from old Viking age, where all the citizens gathered some places and discussed problems in the community. So it's very Danish, very difficult to translate. So this is very simple, and we make this possible by separating political decisions from process power. Process power lives in the transparent rules and neutral secretariat and professional facilitation. Political power lives in the chamber's members, ordinary citizens selected by lot, with real-time support and compensation to do the job seriously. Everything that follows is basically the answer to one question: how do we make sortition legislative work reliable, high quality, and protected against capture? This chamber consists of 300 citizens selected by lot randomly, and we have made standing committees. It's what you see up here, and we have working groups down here, and then we have secretariat. I think you pronounce it like that, don't you? And we have professional facilitators at administration. What we are discussing is this diagram. That is our mostly what we ended up with. about how this should work. And I will go into details. It's a three-stage process with an explicit cross-review phase that can force a rework before anything goes to a final vote. It's a duty to be a member of this. You select people randomly. So this is where I go into all the details that we have discussed. And the legitimacy depends on broad participation, not only volunteers. But it only works if it is possible for ordinary people to be part of it. So we said that they get the salary that they have on average for the last 3 years plus 10%, with a maximum and a minimum that of course have to be adjusted over time. It is meant to make it so that people can say, yes, I can do it, true across all income levels. A fixed income will create too many problems, as very high income people will, this is just an example, very high income people will say that is too little, I cannot work on this, I cannot live on this. The idea is that members serve for 4 years, but the chamber rotates quarterly. A quarter of the chamber is shifted, 25% is replaced. This creates continuity, institutional memory, without turning it into some sort of political class. It also prevents the chamber from stopping and restarting from scratch every cycle. This is the six pillars that hold the systems together. This was our starting point to keep some sort of direction and end up with a working system. It's about representation. We already discussed this. Deliberation, quality control. We just don't vote. We stress test laws through cross reviews. It's about corruption, anti-corruption. It's about real power, that they are not just secondary. It's also about efficiency. Any duty system needs a credible excusal mechanism, illness, care, responsibilities, whatever. But it also needs to avoid becoming optional for the well-connected. We have come up with this system. If somebody do not want to be part of the chamber, the panel or all 300 vote on whether the reason is valid. If the chamber rejects the reason, it's publicly published that this person didn't want to be part of it, and for this reason. There's no criminal penalty, but there is public accountability. And when someone is excused or cannot participate, a replacement is selected randomly. The purpose here is not punishment. It's about legitimacy. If participation becomes only people who have spare time, representativeness collapses. Most of the work happens in committees. You can see it up here. With 300 members, the natural structure is 15 committees of around 20 people. Assignments are totally random to keep the chamber from forming stable fractions. Each committee selects a chair. A chair is not a political leader in the party sense, but an internal coordinator, with ensure the committee can work efficiently with the secretariat and ministers. And then there is a crucial role, the facilitators. A trained facilitator is assigned to each committee by random selection from a pool of maintained by this secretariat. This creates a firm boundary. The facilitators manage process, not content. Members can remove the chair and facilitator by simple majority. The backbone is the secretariat. It falls if this is not working. It's the engine room. It supports committees, coordinate material, ensure deadlines, manage publication, documents, and maintain the facilitator pool, and it handles also the media. It also provides legal and administrative competence to citizens, can focus on judgment and direction rather than bureaucratic issues. If a sortition chamber doesn't have this strong support, it either becomes dependent on external actors or it becomes overwhelmed and slow. This model makes the Secretariat explicitly neutral. It supports, but it does not decide. A major question in sortition is agenda setting. Who decides what the chamber talks about? If the answer is only government or only parliament, the sortition chamber becomes subordinate. If the answer is only citizens, it can become chaotic and captured by minorities and so on. So this model choose shared initiative rights. SBT can bring its own topics. Parliament and government can bring proposals through the ordinary lawmaking process, and citizens can push topics through a structured digital mechanism. We already have that here in Denmark. It's sort of a citizens proposal, but this should also be a way to present or lay out laws that they want to be discussed. And also different kind of organization can propose it to this chamber. It's about balance, button-up legitimacy without losing coherence. There has to be some sort of coordination. If the same issue is introduced to both chambers, you need coordination or you get waste and conflict. There has to be, in our view, a standing committee, a joint committee. Think of it as sort of a bridge. Their job is not to decide. The job is to prevent chaos, align timelines, identify overlap, and maybe also harmonize draft text. It exists to keep the system functional without centralizing power in a third body. One of the things we have looked into is preventing paralysis, so everything has sort of a time limit. Any two-chamber system needs protection against this stalling. One chamber might be tempted to quietly hide it aside and stuff like this. So for the sortition chamber, it has time limits. If the chamber missed deadlines, the process forces movement, such as automatic forwarding to another chamber. It doesn't remove deliberation. It stops just this procedural sabotage. The message is you can disagree, you can amend, you can reject, but you cannot simply hide a case. Now we come to the heart of the system. The case handling pipeline. It's in 3 stages. Stage 1, deep committee work and drafting. Stage 2, cross-review by independent group to test completeness and detect blind spots. Stage 3, plenary decision with safeguards for transparency and integrity. This structure is designed to produce decisions that are not only democratic, but hopefully also robust. In the first treatment, the assigned committee gets up to 2 months in our view. And you can see up here, I sort of highlighted in the diagram what we are talking about. They can finish earlier if they agree. The output is not just a yes or no. It includes a recommendation and package of background material that supports the decision. It doesn't need to be anonymous. Minority views are recorded. This matter because it preserves honest disagreement and prevent artificial consensus in some way. Committees can consult ministries and gather external information, and the material are published, creating transparency from the beginning rather than only at the end. Then there is the quality gate, cross-review as a formal phase. Instead of assuming one committee got it right, the draft is reviewed by multiple cross groups made out of different members. It's not to rewrite anything or the policy. Their job is to audit the work. Did the committee consider the relevant dimensions? Did it consult the right expertise? Are there gaps, unintended consequences, or missing data? The model sets a trigger. If more than 10% of the cross groups conclude the case is not sufficiently treated, it goes back, but importantly, to a different committee for more work. This reduces groupthink and stops a single committee's blind spot from reaching final vote. Stage 3, the final decision. Once cross review indicates the work is done, voting is secret. Then it goes to this voting for all the members. Voting is secret from the public. This protects the members from external pressure, harassment, and lobbying campaigns. But the model also recognizes a real risk, corruption. So votes are stored internally for audit purposes. The idea is to protect the member in the public, but preserve the ability to investigate irregularities if needed. After voting, each member writes a short memo, rationale, and the secretariat then produce a public summary explaining the decision. This creates transparency about reasoning without turning the chamber into a permanent social media battlefield about the individual members. The standing committees do the main workload, but you also need smaller units for focus tasks. For instance, drafting an internal proposal, improving on a rejected text, or for instance, also for this committee that synchronized the two chambers. That's what 12-person working groups are for. Members volunteer, and then selection is random among volunteers, so you get motivation without turning it into a self-selected elite. These groups expand the chamber's capacity without overloading the committee system. Then we have thought about the minority rescue mechanism. If a proposal fails to get selected for committee treatment, a minority can still force improvement work. If at least a quarter of the chamber support it, a working group can refine the proposal and bring it back. This is a safeguard against premature rejection, especially relevant in a chamber designed to represent broad perspective. It's also a way to encourage learning and iteration rather than win-lose politics inside the chamber. The idea is also to bring this chamber into the modern world. So mostly we think of it as online work. Then we want to have regional offices where they can meet for members who prefer that, face-to-face deliberation, and maybe for direct access to the secretariat. There is also proposed one online physical site for major events, symbolic key debates, constitutional matters, or something like that. The goal is inclusion. Participation should be possible for people with job, families, in different locations, not only those who can relocate to, for instance, a capital city. Maybe even part-time job will be possible. Here is maybe a little bit provocative, but practical idea. Ministers should be approved by both chambers. If the elected chamber in the elected chamber, approval is political. In the sortition chamber, the approval should be merit-based, competence, experience, no party loyalty. The proposal suggests a process where the secretariat and a relevant working group interview candidates and make a recommendation to the plenary. It also proposed time limit contract, say 2 years, with possible renewal. The aim is to improve stability and professionalism and reduce the minister musical chair problem. Structural changes to ministers ministries should require legislation approved by both chambers. Right now in Denmark, it is so that it's the government that select what sort of ministers there are, but this is a circus, to be honest, in my view. Uh, yeah. For ordinary legislation, proposal travel between chambers. If a bill comes from the parliament or the government, the sortition chamber must treat it. So the sortition chamber cannot block it by refusing to engage. The sortition chamber can approve, propose changes, or reject. If there is disagreement, the design emphasizes negotiation and process through coordinated structures rather than simple right mechanism that makes one chamber inferior. The document also argues against using referendums as a routine deadlock tool because most citizens cannot realistically study complex proposals in depth and are vulnerable to manipulation. Instead, a deliberative chamber is by institution designed to handle this sort of complexity on behalf of the citizens. There are some things that we don't want to be part of the sortition chamber. One of them is the national budget. It can evaluate and come with some sort of recommendation, especially on long-term consequences and some structural priorities without becoming a bottleneck that risk shutting down everything, like in the US, to be honest. This preserves operational stability while still adding deliberative oversight on long-term fiscal direction. There must also be clear boundaries. The sortition chamber is not built for decisions that must be made in hours or days under uncertainty, like crisis, national security, emergencies. These domains remain the responsibility of the elected chamber and the government because speed matters and accountability chains are different. The sortition chamber value is in depth, structure, long-term thinking, and legitimacy under complex decisions. There is a communication challenge. Members of the chamber are not trained to justify decisions. They should not become permanent public figures and so on. So our model takes a balanced approach. Materials are public, debates are open. The secretariat has a media and a press function. And after the vote, it gets a clear summary of the reasoning. But individual votes are not exposed. This protects the members from target pressure, but at the same time, the internal audit trail preserves the ability to investigate corruption. This is one of our core engineering decisions. Transparency must increase legitimacy without making citizens unsafe. Then I come to what we actually started out with, the changes to the Constitution. And we found out that was really the easy part. It was not many changes that we needed to make. The hard part was to find out how does this actually work in reality. Actually, in Denmark, until 1953, we had a two-chamber system also in Denmark. But it ended up with the same political... So it was just a copy stamp, basically, and we decided to close one chamber, but the idea is to open it again in a different way. So this is the diagram again. You get a proposal from the government. You always have to work on it. You have committees that work on it for 2 months. You get the quality check and maybe rework if it is not good enough. If it's good enough, it goes to the final vote and you get adopted, rejected, and publication of reasoning. If we have other proposals from citizens, from organization, or inside the chamber itself. It also majority vote if it goes into this three-stage process. If it doesn't, and a quarter want to keep it alive, you have a working group that improves the proposal, and then it goes into it again. That's a simple, very simple model. And this is basically why we think this model will work. Many assemblies, citizens' assemblies, are powerless, uh, vulnerable to capture, or overwhelmed by complexity without the real support. We'll try to close these failures by rotation, facilitation, and rework, and so on. It's built less like a one-off deliberation event and more like a permanent institution. One of the things I really like to do is keep on working on this, keep on improving it, and have sort of a standard template you can take up, discuss, and maybe even use at some point in time. I like to include more transparency. I like to discuss what parts are firm, what parts have open question, and what could maybe be tested in pilots before we try it on a constitutional level. I'm not asking you to agree with everything, every number. I'm asking you to evaluate the design as a functional machine. Where would it break in practice? Where is it vulnerable to capture? Maybe some safeguards that are too heavy, and what are maybe missing? What can be pilot loaded early? My hope is that the sortition community can work on this, can develop a shared library or something that work for permanent institution, not only temporary assemblies. And that's basically what I have prepared here for you. Thank you for your attention. And I hope there are some questions to that. I know it was a lot in a very short time, but I hope you get the picture.
If anyone has a question, please raise your hand. Terry.
Yeah, first let me see if my microphone, can you hear me?
Yeah, it was
Okay. I think generally it's a pretty astonishingly comprehensive plan. It's not a joke one like some people have proposed, just having two chambers. You have a lot of corrective measures and reviews and so on. My main problem is, now I think there's around a dozen parties in the Danish parliament, so it's a different dynamic than I'm familiar with in the United States. But still, I suspect that the parties will seek to recruit members of the randomly selected body to join their caucus. They will try to infuse partisan politics into the body. And so that's, I think, one of the major dangers. And that's one of the reasons why with my multi-body sortition, I always had a final jury come for a short duration that had not been part of the planning, not part of the work, and they just vote. So I'm anxious about an all-function body that has committees, that they develop pride in their work, and they don't really hear problems about it because they've psychologically invested in the product that they've produced. So I'm just advocating for multi-body sortition, which a lot of you are not surprised to hear.
No, I think the main argument against that is that you are there for 4 years and you are
We're getting some echoes there. Wayne, can you move off real quick? Maybe put on some headphones. Thanks. Benny, you can turn yours back on.
I don't know what is happening. There's a lot of echo here.
That was feedback through Wayne. Benny, you can resume talking. It's now.
Huh? You're very difficult to hear, Oliver.
Sorry, Benny, carry on.
Yeah, okay. I think the main answer to that is this: that they're randomly. They will be out in 4 years. They have no idea to go into party politics and be captured like that. It doesn't make sense to me. Also, I also think that you have an extra assembly that has to vote. In my view, they vote on maybe a wrong background. You need they need really to know what is going on, why the reason, why it's laid out like that, and the reason behind it. I don't know. It's just a proposal, Terry.
Okay. Wayne, do you want to ask your question? Benny, if you could mute yourself while Wayne is talking so we don't get that feedback.
Okay, Oliver, thank you. I think I fixed my microphone. Benny, why do we need an elected house at all?
The main reason it was we had a lot of discussions in the beginning. Should this have a chance, then we have to work with what is there. It should have a chance of becoming a reality. And our discussion ended up with we need to keep the elected chamber there for now. And that was what I told you in the beginning, that we had a lot of other ideas, kick them out completely and make something that is idealized and so on. But in the end, we decided that our goal was also to make something that could become reality. And after that discussion, we decided to keep the elected chamber. And actually, when you work on this, you find out that there is really a good reason to have somebody that can react quickly and can also this about the fiscal budget and stuff like this. There are reasons to have people that doesn't need to go through this rigid structure in 3 stages and have some quick decisions. So honestly, after I've been working with this and I've been discussing this with different people, I actually now think that this is better. It may be provocative and all kind of things, but honestly, my idea is now that this is better this way.
Okay, so your answer is baby steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to grab the attention of the right wing politicians. Sorry, but you need to. I've been having a lot of discussions with politicians and parties and stuff like that over the years by now. And right side of the spectrum simply doesn't understand sortition. They say it doesn't work, it will never work, it will. And this sort of maybe I can convince them that this model, even though they have to get rid of 50% of their power, that this model have a chance to be a success. That was the basic reasoning for it.
Yeah, I agree about the right. In my experience, I've found that they think that sortition is a left-wing plot.
Yeah, exactly. And I cannot see that, but yeah, that's how it is.
Great. Do we have any more questions, or I have one if nobody else has one?
Yeah.
Right. So you say if the sortational chamber refuses a motion or proposes an amendment that's come down from Parliament or the government, that then goes to negotiation with the Parliament or with the government. How exactly does that work? Like, what is the sortational chamber able to give a final no, or are they able to? You're on mute. You're muted, Benny.
Yeah. To be honest, there are a lot of things that can be discussed and improved. Uh, and we had to stop at some point and end up with a result. For instance, this coordination between the two chambers, that can be detailed a lot more, but you need to stop at some point. So we really wanted to something. The goal was to get a text people can understand, and you can make some claims that they easily understand and agree upon, so that you get them to get an interest in the model. That was our main focus. So there are a lot of things where you can discuss it a lot more, and of course we should do that. And this is one of the things, Oliver. I don't have a out of the box solution for you.
Okay, but that does change the nature of the proposal quite significantly.
I didn't understand that.
Whether or not the sortational chamber has a veto or just has a kind of delaying power is a big part of uh, of the proposal. Like, it's a completely different proposal depending on the answer to that question.
Sorry, I don't understand you, Oliver. You're sort of like underwater or something.
Sorry, I'll type it out. Richard, do you want to speak?
I just had a quick question about your committee's process, Benny. How long did it take for you guys to deliberate over this and come up with what you have as a model here?
I wouldn't say that the group that worked, it was about, I have to look it up, but I think it was about 6 months, half a year that we worked on this. And we had a meeting online every second week. So, yeah. And sometimes we had to cancel, and sometimes there were only 2 people, and sometimes we were 5, sometimes we were 6. But most of the times we were around 3 or 4 people that discussed this. And we had a Trello board where we put ideas. I don't know if you know this system. It's mostly for software. But we had a Trello board where we put ideas into, and we brought it up. And then I put it together in a text where there were missing some parts. And then we had discussion about these parts. How should we do this? And so on and so on. So it was not very sortition-like, this process, to be honest. It was just a bunch of guys. Sadly, there were no women. It was just a bunch of guys that had an interest in this and wanted to sit down and do some time working on this. And I'm so grateful because sadly, at least here in Denmark, there's not a lot of interest in the system, the democracy system. It's sort of cut in stone in many. And people say, why should we discuss it? It works. It will never have a chance anyway. And it's the foundation of everything, because the foundation tells you the outcome in many ways, at least in my opinion. But there's not a huge amount of interest in people here in Denmark. Maybe we are too good off, we are, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but here it's something that puzzles me, that people don't have a higher interest in this, to be honest.
Maybe your government is already too functional.
No, it has exactly the same problems as you have in the US, maybe not as bad, but you have these people that only think about being elected next time and getting more voters. It's exactly the same setup as it is everywhere else. But maybe because we have some other system, we have these, I don't know how many we have, 10 or 15 parties or something like that. And it gives something more. It gives a little bit better system in my view. And I don't know, but it's really difficult to get the attention of people here about making changes to the constitution, doing things in a different way. And you have to talk with people for a lot of times and long time before they, and that was the reason why I created this paper. Read this, and I can tell you already now, because it's in review with all kind of people I know, my father and friends and stuff like that, and it gets their attention. This paper, it really does, and they understand it right away, because until now I've been trying to discuss with them, and they say, "Yeah, Benny, you are good. You're stupid. You are working on something that will never change," and stuff like this. But this paper really, really worked. People read it and say, "There's something about it." I agree with you, honestly. And that was the goal of the paper. How to use it now is another story. That's the discussion we're going to have. Also here, internationally, for that matter, how are we going to use this paper? Is it good enough, or should we change it, or so on?
All right, we got some questions in the chat. We'll go through them in order. Gary first.
Well, I have a question for Benny. Can you give us an idea of what the budget, the annual budget of Denmark is, and whether the people of Denmark are at all concerned about corruption occurring in the budget process?
No, not really. One of the most trusty populations you can find anywhere in Denmark. So we don't think of corruption, and we don't, when you make tests for this, corruption is not really existing on a level where it makes a big problem. And it also goes for the politics and the parliament and politicians. That it might be wrong, but that is the opinion of ordinary people, at least. So that is not a problem, to be honest. There's a lot of trust in Denmark. They are trying to ruin it, but there is still a lot of trust among people.
David, nice.
I'm trying to read some of the comments.
I'm sorry that it wasn't. It was just a side note. It was just a question. You talked about people not being familiar with sortition in Denmark, and I just wondered if you were familiar with the work of Democracy X. Used to be the Danish Board of Technology Foundation, and We Do Democracy. That's not a challenge or anything. It's just if you don't know about them, you'd probably find it interesting.
I've been having a meeting with them also in the beginning. People here don't know anything about sortition. That's how it is. They have heard about citizens' assemblies, but see it as some sort of, they don't see it as a solution to anything. It's just something where you ask people about something and you can get some sort of result out of it. They don't see it in the broad picture, to be honest. And they don't know the word sortition. They don't know about the lottery and all these kind of things. And when you talk about citizens' assemblies, it's basically just that you bring some people together and they discuss the subject. That you make a lottery is not something people are aware of, really. So there is a really, really, really big task in getting sortition to be known, and that it is working, and so on and so on. And honestly, I've been having discussions with myself and other people. How can we achieve this? And some special newspapers sometimes write articles about it, but it never gets out to the broad public. I don't know. Really a good discussion.
Question from Brian about facilitation, and then Gary again after that.
Come on, sorry. I'm just having to allow cameras and stuff. Yeah, hi, Benny. Yeah, the questions about facilitation, I mean, like, you sort of, we're flying through the presentation there, but I see facilitation as a key aspect of your architecture. You know, so it's are you confident that the skills or the capacity for the facilitator role is there? You got anything to say about that?
Yeah, the idea is that you hire professional people. You simply make an advert, and they make it, and you have interview with them with these working groups, for instance, and you can fire them and you can change them. But I agree that this is really the key to a working solution. Uh, and there may be a lack of very good facilitators to begin with, and so on and so on. So it's really a subject that needs to look into carefully. But yes, I think it is possible to get facilitators. In theory, you need something like the double amount of these committees, so it's something like 40 people. Yeah, I think it's possible to get rather okay facilitators, in my view. They can also fire them if they say it's a lousy facilitator.
Yeah, that's yeah. I saw that. That was very curious. That'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, I'm curious about that. So yeah, interesting stuff. Thanks, Benny.
Gary, go ahead.
Benny, can you tell us about the constitutional amendment process in Denmark?
Oh, I cannot remember the details. A lot of the parliament should agree upon it, and then you have to make a vote with the public, and there is a certain percentage that shall agree, and I cannot remember the numbers right here now, Gary. But you have to get the parliament to say okay to it, and you have to make a vote for everybody, and there has to be a certain percentage. I cannot remember the percentage right now. And it may not be in my lifetime, because I can tell you that there is a lot of things that you can change in this constitution. The constitution in most countries is made 150, 200 years ago or something like that. And honestly, it might fit when you didn't have any social media, where it took 3 days to travel to a place where you could discuss things and so on. I would say that maybe it was fine for the period, but now with all the changes that is happening, it doesn't work anymore. But here in Denmark, they have been discussing changes. They discuss it every year. And every time they say, oh, it's too complicated. It's not important enough to make this process and so on and so on. So honestly, I make this work of this document and this proposal of a new way of doing democracy. But honestly, I don't think it will happen in my lifetime. I don't think so. You need some sort of crisis. You need some sort of revolution. Hopefully not a violent one, but you need this sort of situation to appear, I think, before it will happen. But that's not a good reason not to work with it. If you think it's a better system, you should work on it, and that's my driving force. Because at some point in time, it will happen, in my view. Other questions? And sorry, I'm spread out on 3 monitors here, so I'm looking like this all the time. There is
Benny, can you either send the document to us or post a link to where we can read it?
That was my plan. But we have, it's in Danish, sorry. But we have a review process right now going on with all the guys that made this or was part of it. And I decided I can do it. If you promise to keep it to yourself for now. Then I can AI translate it and send it to you. But keep it for yourself for now. Everybody that is here, I can send it to you, AI translated, but I would like to keep it private for now until we have it complete. And all the guys that has been working on it say it's fine to release it. And this presentation was for me also to get some input for this final step in this work. So, but I'll send it if you. I don't think I have all your email addresses. You have to send me your email address. My email address is very simple. It's benny@sortition.dk. You should be able to remember that one. So if you like to get an English AI translated or Danish version for that matter, I will send it to you. But please do not spread it out right now.
Okay, Richard.
How about just posting the presentation? Did you say you were going to try to do that? The presentation?
Yeah, I will do it. I will post it on the Discord server when we are done. But for people interested here in this online meeting, I can send it to you. AI translate the version as it is right now, and you can read it, but don't spread it.
And I have email addresses.
Huh?
I have email addresses for anybody who's signed up through Eventbrite, so we can use those if we need to. Okay.
Yeah.
Gary, go ahead.
Benny, can you give us some idea about how many proposals are given to the current Parliament for consideration that would, under your model, be given instead to the sortition-based legislative body?
I've been to the Parliament. I've been having discussions with a couple of the parties there. I sent an email and I was invited. And I know that there are at least 3 parties or something like that. Maybe 25% of the Parliament that is open to this sort of idea. But we still need to convince the rest.
The reason for asking, Benny, was just to get some idea of how busy the proposed sortition-based legislature would be if the proposal was implemented. Because, as for example, if here in the United States, laws have been created for going on nearly 240 years. So there have been some who have wondered exactly how many new laws does the United States need to at least the ones that aren't based on gaining political advantage for one party or another.
It's exactly the same situation here. You get way too many laws and they are rushed through and they are not really deliberated and it's exactly the same situation. Here we have the EU that makes a lot of regulation and sort of laws that you have to follow in all the member states, and that creates, because the politicians are as they are, it's a lot of bureaucracy and administration, to be honest, most of it. And I think you are way better in this respect in the US than we are here in Europe. And basically the politicians want to keep their back clear. So it always ends up in something like, we raise the penalty. We raise the penalty. I've done something. Vote for me next time. And this is really the logic also here. I'm just hoping that this sort of system could lower the amount of rules, because honestly, in my opinion, we have so many things people are not happy because they feel like they are a puppy, you know. Then you have to fill in this, then you have to do that. It might sound a little bit right wing, this, but they are really not happy. They don't feel free. It's Big Brother watching you all the time and keeping you like this. And more and more of this is coming also in Denmark, also in Europe. And there is and maybe you can hook up on this sort of annoyance and concern with ordinary people, because I honestly think that a sortition chamber would do this differently. They would have another perspective. They would have about making people happy instead of getting the vote next time.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just keep my camera off because it's dark where I am. Benny, I'm just curious. So, yeah, you know, just going into your sort of somewhat pessimistic, prediction that's going to take many, many years for this to make any significant change. Also, you know, in Northern Ireland, where government regularly fails, you know, even here, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland basically said, when I asked him about deliberative democracy, he basically said, I believe in representative democracy, right? So, you know, even here, they're still not, they're sticking with it, shall we say. So I guess, but to get to my question, is it, have you, the curiosity I have is, have you tried it the other way around? You know, would it be worth while trying to do, you know, and I know Daniele is from Folkets Ting is on this call as well, which is more of that grassroots approach, like the smaller sortition approach, lots of small fires rather than one big fire, as it were. Have you tried that sort of thinking around this?
Yeah, I think I've tried basically everything, Brian.
Right.
Honestly, I think you're, as far as I know, it's a limited information that I have, that you're in Ireland in a better situation than you are here. I know I've also been talking to We Do Democracy and all these grassroots movement in Denmark, but in my view, you know, they are grassroots, but they also need to make money. And they do this with citizens' assemblies, where a municipality pay them for setting up a citizen assembly and stuff like that. Not really many people are interested in this constitutional level of sortition. Also not the guys from Teknologirådet. Somebody, I think it was you, mentioned Teknologirådet. I think they changed the name. I was there, and one of the main guys behind it, he said to me, after I discussed about sortition, I was Sortition Foundation DK at that time, and I had an open discussion for 2 hours. And suddenly he said to me, "Oh, you're not one of those that want to change the constitution and bring sortition into the parliament. I hope not." And at that time, I didn't know what to do. And he said that would be stupid. And honestly, I'm one of the stupid ones because that's exactly what I want to do. But it's just when I look at the environment in Denmark and when I talk to people, I don't think we are there right now. And people take time. It takes a lot more time than people think all the time. This is also something I've learned. Before you see this change, sometimes when I'm in the US, you know, they always say, "Oh, we need somebody to finance us. We need the strong man," or something like that will make the changes. But here we don't have that. It's going to take a long time. We had an old poet here in Denmark, and he said, "Take tager tid," and it's difficult to translate directly, but it just takes the time that it needs. And I don't think we are there here right now in Denmark. But I like to work on this. I like to improve the democracy. I like to improve the society. And that is the reason why I'm focusing on this, about the constitutional level of sortition.
Wayne, please.
Yeah, Barry, we can talk about this in infinitum and probably in the future in our Discord. But I really think that when you consider your theory of change, the real constituency are the people, and therefore your theory of change has to involve them, and it has to come from below. I don't think it's going to come from the top.
I agree. And that was also why I made this paper to ordinary people. I tried at least to make it convincing for them that this will work, because there is a lot of academic papers out there. And yeah, so I tried to with a different approach, basically.
Richard.
Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, this is just a general comment, but the frustration I hear about the hurdles that have to be overcome in order to get something like the model that Benny has and his group have created is the fact that fundamentally we need education. Education at the very basic level about what sortition is, and the fact that there are different ways, different ideas about improving democracy. It's great to have the vision of what we want to have change on a national level, but like others have voiced, and I really feel like we don't put enough energy into, is the foundational education of citizens, period. And you can talk, that's no easy task by any means, but to me, that's where this has to begin, or at least it's a competing priority to any of the big visionary types of changes we want to see. And so I would really be if more organizations on the local level really embrace this idea of how do we educate a typical citizen about these kinds of changes and what they can do in the long run. Thanks.
We also saw that in the sortition.dk, and we really aimed at the educational level with sortition. But honestly, we didn't get anywhere, Richard. I think we made one presentation and so on. The problem is also that they have this, what do you call, pensum or something like that. They plan 1 year ahead or something like that. So it's not something that you have to get in somehow. And it's actually difficult. At least here. But we are doing here, local city, we are doing a Democracy Day. I'm also part of a group here in the city. And this year, we are planning for next year, we are going to focus on education. We're really, really going to focus on education because we had good time this year. It's 10 months from now or so. But I haven't found the formula. I totally agree with you, Rich, but I haven't found the formula how to get this up in attention with education, to be honest. Sorry, I'm talking to a muted mic. We are over 1 hour now, so I think we should cut it unless you have a final comment or something like that. It was an honor to present this to you, and I will send out the English translated version. And I hope you can use it for something. And I hope that we together also can work on this in the future in some way. Maybe we could take it up at a meeting or something, Rich. And all of that. So thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.